And it's a rainy afternoon right here in Lagos, Nigeria. The last trading day for this week. That's the first trading week of October. Here's what's coming up in the next 55 minutes. I will see the government of Egypt and German federal state of Bavaria signed the declaration of intent to strengthen their bilateral cooperation in hydrogen. And the U.S. government makes a substantial contribution towards Liberia's efforts to enhance its national budget. Plus, we get a check on the oil market as Middle East tension takes center stage. Right, yeah, it's all about geopolitics right now with most of the commodities markets that we track. But let's get a check on gold. We see gold prices up today, supported by safe haven demand arising from the Middle East conflict. But we see a marginal pullback there of 0.03%, but it was a gain earlier, $2,678 per ounce. That's for spot gold and other metals that we track. I'm not looking so bad. We see the likes of palladium still maintaining over $1,000, that psychological level. Platinum, $1,012, up 0.69%. But silver, not shining like the others, down 0.52% at $32.29 per ounce. Let's get a check on oil now. See, oil prices still elevated this week for sure. It's a weekly gain, at this point, $77.73 per barrel. Just like earlier today, we're still seeing a rise there, 0.17%. The U.S. grade WTI, $73.81 per barrel, 0.15% up. So this market's still staying up. But let's bring in Wachira Kariuki there. He's joining us from Nairobi. Great to have you, Wachira. So definitely... if you can hear me, Wachira, both benchmarks are on track for a weekly gain, at this point, except something big, happens with when it comes to oil demand. But it's 8%. It's looking like 8% for Brent. That's for the week. That's huge, coming from last week, which was a loss.
Exactly. So first of all, thank you for having me, Ladi. It's always a pleasure to do the quick commodity roundup on Channels TV. So yes, the commodity market this particular week has been ridiculously hit by the conflict in the Middle East. We are hitting a high of $75 per barrel this particular week, and especially as East Africa, as you can imagine, this is going to hit us very hard in December. Remember, in Kenya, as with most African countries, we're not as privileged as Nigeria, where you guys come from. So most of our oil, even if the conflict is resolved in 3 months' time, the prices now will be very high. So in December, when it's holiday time, that's when the East African market will be hit by these prices. So the WTI, the American kind of oil, is very high. Brent is also very high. WTI, Brent, and of course the normal crude is hitting new highs of $75 a barrel. Between 6 a.m., between midnight today and today right now midday, the market has jumped up another 60 basis points. So we are now hitting $75 a barrel. This is unprecedented, and every single day for the past 5 days, the market has been hitting new highs since the conflict escalated between Israel and Iran in the Middle East, Ladi.
Right, and is this the conflict, the narrative that takes oil to $100?
Yeah, it's very possible. Geopolitical aspects are the ones that drive the commodity market, and especially oil is a very volatile commodity worldwide. And so I would not be surprised, because every single day we have moved 2 basis points. That means we come from $70 to $72 in one day, $72 to $74 in one other day. So we are only $25 short of $100 a barrel. Is it too much to expect for it to come? If there is no conflict resolution, the UN does not entertain the problem, they don't find a way to resolve that conflict, and most countries have not bought enough oil going forward, then simply there's going to be a problem with demand. Remember, oil is controlled by the logistics of the supply. You might be produced, but the channels are a problem. And when there's a problem with the ships crossing the Suez Canal, they have to use a longer route, which means they take more time, which means the price keeps on going high. So it's not too much to think that if in the next 2-3 weeks this particular issue is not resolved, or worse, it escalates, we'll hit $100 a barrel. irrespective of other ways of production and other avenues of production, like the Nigerian market is producing quite a bit for Africa. Maybe we'll have to look at that, but even that, we think is going to continuously appreciate it as high. Nobody wants to sell their oil at a lower price. So we think the price of oil is going to hit $100 a barrel if they don't take more than 3 weeks to resolve this particular price.
Right, and we see the oil bulls. The oil bulls will definitely be enjoying this right now. But we know most of the central bankers, the global central bankers, they've started a rate cutting cycle. How much of a risk does this conflict and with oil prices rising, how much of a risk does it pose to this rate cutting cycle?
I think it poses a major risk, honestly speaking. It poses a major risk because, one, it was unforeseen. There's always been conflict between Israel and Iran, but there was a major attack by Israel on Iran. Then, of course, there was that ridiculous number of missiles that Iran also rained down on Israel. And to make it worse, Kazakhstan also cut the amount of oil they were producing. So for sure, it's going to escalate in a big way. It was unprecedented and calculated. It has come in very heavy in terms of impact, and a lot is happening in a very short time. So it does impact very heavily on the rate cuts for sure. It's quite unfortunate, but it's something we have to deal with as different economies, especially in Africa, as third world economies.
Right. I guess another headache for the central bankers at this point. But thank you so much, Wachira Kariuki, CEO, African Diaspora Asset Management. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, lad. It's always a pleasure to do the economic update for Africa and Kenya at large on your channel. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you.
All right, now, so with rising food and energy prices still a major pain for Nigerians. Analysts say one major threat passing through these issues is insecurity. According to Adebayo Adeleke, founder Roots Watch, the ministries, departments, and agencies need to play their part in securing Nigeria, which would help complement the efforts of defense agencies. He made the comment earlier on Business Morning.
So if you look at it, as Nigeria has never been insecure, we have always been insecure, but this much, probably not. It's all about, you have to put it in context and in relative. But you've talked about, food prices dropping. It's expected. If you look at what's going on globally, it's not only Nigeria alone. Most of the countries are reporting inflation drop. The United States has dropped in the percentages as well, and we continue to see these things actually cascade into different countries, both developed and undeveloped countries. But one thing still remains: insecurity is the bane of most of all our, food. Trying to move from food insecurity to food security. But one of the things, all the metrics, all the different domains that we've collected data over the course of time, insecurity has ranked top 1 or 2 factors actually affecting, either from food inflation, food scarcity, food agricultural production or whatnot. Insecurity has always been.
All right, so now to our first conversation. Since oil was discovered in Nigeria in 1956 at Loibiri in the Niger Delta, after half a century of exploration, we're dealing with issues of oil thefts. But one good thing, we have a working refinery, on stream at this point. But how do we shape the future of Nigeria's oil and gas industry so all of Nigeria can benefit from this great resource? Well, joining me for this conversation is Chief Anabs Saraive, is a national coordinator of South-South Leadership Forum. Great to have you on the show, Chief.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's great to have you. But before we get, into it, let's kick off the conversation with what's happening with River State. To see the local government election there getting a lot of attention. Right now, reports of attempts to steal election materials. And definitely, we know how much River State contributes to oil production, in Nigeria. So how are you seeing this political quagmire playing out in River State?
Well, first of all, I appeal to Nigerians to stand up against this tyranny, against this injustice that is taking place in River State. Nigerians should know that River State is a very important state in the part of the country. More so, it is where the oil is produced. River State is a very important state in the Niger Delta. And anything that happens to River State affects the entire Niger Delta. And so the Niger Delta people are not happy with what is going on in the state. One man cannot seem to be controlling the entire country, entire River State. It's not possible. A man has served as a governor. He has left office as a governor. He will use the police to harass the governor of River State. He will use the police to harass the people of River State while he's in the office and now outside the office. And the police are allowing themselves to be so used. It is ridiculous. So Nigerians should stand up against this, because if that is not done and that is crisis in River State, it will affect the entire economy of River State, because the whole Niger Delta will stand with River State and fight against it. Why on earth would police go to lock up or cut away materials from independent River State Electoral Commission when they know that the election is coming tomorrow? Why will they do what they're doing when the Supreme Court has given the judgment to give local government autonomy? Why will they do what they're doing when the Court of Competent Jurisdiction has empowered the government of River State and the Electoral Commission to go ahead with local government election? All this to cause chaos, all this to cause confusion. And that is why I'm saying we must stand up as people of Nigeria to say no to tyranny. This is tyranny, and this can lead to anarchy. And we don't want anarchy in Nigeria, because we're in a terrible situation now. The man is pushing Nigeria and the state, River State, into a very serious crisis.
I'm talking about
federal government.
Talking about crisis.
If you don't call the order and the IG to order, if you don't call the IG to order, and this thing continues, there will be crisis in River State.
All right.
And when that crisis in River State occurs, it will affect the oil production. Because if it happens, the whole Niger Deltas will start firm to say there should be no oil production until this matter is resolved. So I appeal to Nigerians, I appeal to federal government, and I appeal to Inspector General of Police to take a leaf from Mba. The same man used Mba to commit havoc in River State. After he achieved what he wanted, he abandoned Mba. Mba is a living witness. So my appeal is River supposed to stay calm and go and do the election peacefully.
So, Chief,
let them not destroy anything.
Yeah, definitely you did mention, crisis, and, Nigerians, all over the country, they're going through a cost of living crisis, right now. We're seeing how, the central bank is trying to, reining inflation, at this point. And you did mention how much River State, contributes to oil output in Nigeria. That's over 40%. So, looking at the situation, right now, is there no way that, all these parties can come together, these parties, and say, you know what, we need to look at the economic interests of River State, and Nigeria? Is there no chance of that, happening in the short term?
Well, the River State elders have tried their best to resolve this matter. The matter went to the presidency, and Mr. President came up with a lopsided arrangement, and the Rivers people were opposed to what he said. Majority of Rivers people want a peaceful administration of the present governor. The former governor has ruled and left. So if he needs peace, let him get peace in the interest of Nigeria. Don't look at this matter as River State. It will be a Niger Delta fight. It will be an Ijaw fight. And when that happens, there will be no oil production, there will be no gas production in Niger Delta. So we need to avoid it. Don't look at it as a parochially, as a reverse matter. It's never a reverse matter. This is the matter of the Niger Delta, particularly the South-South, and the Ijaw people. They will fight dirty. So to avoid any fight, Mr. President should call the FCC minister, Nyesom Wike, to order. And the IGP should know that is the IGP for the Federation, is to maintain law and order and not to take instruction from somebody. Rivers State is part of Nigeria. The government of Rivers State was elected like the president was elected, and the component part of the Federation. So if you do anything to it, they have a product system. This is a capitalist administration, capitalist economy. Niger Delta is Rivers State. Already, people are not happy with the happenings in Edo. And if you not touch Rivers State, then you are looking for trouble. So please, I will appeal to Mr. President to quickly intervene to avoid crisis in Rivers State. Because what the police is trying to do now is to cause crisis. What the police said, they are not coming. They said, don't go, don't come. Rivers people are capable of maintaining peace. And anybody who said no, the people will rise up and say no to the person. So police should do their job as police officers and allow peace to reign in the state.
Right, and definitely with a lot of tension now with geopolitics, even on the global scene, we don't really need that much. We don't need domestic, trouble, at this point. But let's look at other oil producers now. We see, Nigeria's not been able to develop like other top oil producers in the world, and now we have the politics, the political issue in rivers also, playing into our oil production. We're still trying to battle oil theft to get our production up so that we can get more foreign exchange. So before this whole political quagmire, what do you think is, keeping us from not enjoying the benefits of being a major oil producer in the world?
Well, let's be factual. Nigeria today have 37 billion barrels of crude oil reserves, which means even if we are producing 3,000 barrels per day, we cannot finish our oil reserve in the next 100 years. We also have 206.53 cubic feet of gas. So we have enough reserve of gas, we have enough reserve of oil. What is important is who is managing these resources. Presently, we have the managing director of NNPC, Bele Kyari, who came into office in 2019 after Mikailiti Baharu retired. And ever since he came in and met oil price at 145, 150 per barrel. Today, the oil price is 100,000 something per liter. And he also met production of 2.3 to 2.4 million barrels per day. That has also reduced to 1.4, 1.6 billion barrels per day. And you are now blaming it on oil theft, insecurity. I disagree. What is happening is lack of foresight, lack of management, and trying to handle this project as a one-man project. NNPC is a federal institution, and it falls in within the Constitution of Nigeria. NNPC is guided by the Public Service Rule. And the Public Service Rule is also very clear that when you serve Chapter 8, Article 020810, is very clear that at 60 years or 35 years in service, whichever that comes first, must retire, except university lecturers and judges. Or directors who have served more than 8 years, they must retire, whether they're up to that age or not. So this has not applied. The man has served over 36 years in service, is still in office, and he has not performed well. He has destroyed the fabric of the economy, Nigerian economy, through his policies. Oil price is going on. Oil price controls the economy, the transportation, price of food, virtually everything.
All right, but
Chief, when the oil goes up, price goes up.
All right, Chief.
And this is affecting the economy.
Yeah, Chief.
Yes.
Looking at PMS prices, like you mentioned, some would say it's not the fault of the NNPCL. That at the end of the day, we're seeing currency devaluation playing into that. That if the naira was stronger, then we wouldn't have to deal with high PMS prices. What do you say to that?
Why will you not have a weaker naira when you will export your oil instead of producing oil? This man met Warren Refinery working. He met Port Harcourt Refinery working, although epileptic. And you want to do turnaround maintenance, you don't stop all of them at the same time. We have 4 refineries in Nigeria, and today none of them is working. You will now export our crude oil. And instead of earning dollars that will consolidate our reserve, you are importing crude oil. And 40% of the reserve is going to importation. Why will the naira not weak? If we are refining locally, we will not spend that money to import. That thereby consolidating our revenue and reserve to strengthen our naira. If we are refining here, we will get other things that comes to the PMS. Crude oil comes with PMS, wax, diesel, kero, PP, carbon black, and others. if you are refining locally, all this will become part of the produce you will get as byproduct of the crude oil. But now you take our crude oil to outside the country, either Malta refinery or anywhere, and after you produce, you bring them back without bringing the other component. You only bring in diesel and petrol. There's no kero for the poor man. So why would your naira be weak? But if you are producing this, you create employment here. But now you are creating employment in the other country. Why wouldn't your naira be weak? And so if we are now producing, Dangote wants to come, you are fighting with Dangote so that you can continue with the importation, thereby depleting our foreign reserve.
But Chief,
we are saying sell our oil in naira to Dangote and the other refinery companies, so that they will also reduce the cost. And you are fighting against that. So how will we go? The best thing to save Nigeria is that this man at January 8 will be 60. Let him retire. And appoint a Niger Delta son or daughter.
Chief, would you say it's a win?
As the GMP.
Would you say it's a win that we have a private sector, driven refinery under the leadership of Mr. Mele Kyari? Is that not a win for him?
The NNPC structure is very clear. The NNPC as subsidiary, the corporate headquarters supervise the subsidiary. And the management of the subsidiary lies with the corporate headquarters. And so they give them the policy while they go and do the operations. But if the policies are not favorable to the subsidiary, they cannot function. And that is why the refinery are not function. Fortunately, Dangote refinery has come. It's a deal. Nigeria has shares in that company, which means by the law of Nigeria, Dangote refinery will also fall within that public service rule, because the Nigeria has about 25% shares from what we have been understood. So if Nigeria have shares, Nigeria can have a deal with Dangote. I am giving you crude oil at this price, don't import. Then reduce your price. I don't see how Dangote would not agree. He's a Nigerian. He's a man who has done so much for this country. It's a matter of approach. How do you approach him to see how we can fight inflation, how we can fight high cost, and how we can save our naira?
Yeah,
if the leadership is right, if the leadership is right, I don't think we'll run to a crisis.
Okay.
But we have a very bad leadership that has affected the oil industry. There's no production now. Production is going down. You are saying oil theft. How much oil are they stealing? How many vessels are carrying oil in the Niger Delta? The policy is not right. That is why the oil companies are divested. Even the local companies here are also dying. You see, you take all the money, you take PIA, the money you are supposed to invest in searching for oil and production, you are using it to search for oil in the north, where oil is not there. Where you have oil, you are not doing seismic operations, you are not encouraging rigs to drill more wells, work over of the old well, and bring the oil well back to a standard where you can be able to produce more. These things are not done. And so what do you expect? The oil production will go down continuously. Our foreign reserve will go down continuously because you are not ready to repair the refineries. You are not ready to make the refinery work. You are not even encouraging Dangote to be able to produce and sell, as well as if they sell the excess to outside country to raise more reserve for Nigeria. So the policy is wrong from the NNPC. You will call federal government. Federal government is advised by agencies. And the present crop of NNCs and the NNPC, particularly the MD, sees NNPC as his personal company. Let me tell you something. NNPC has a tradition. The corporate headquarters have their budget. The subsidiary have their budget. The subsidiaries are given limits as to how much they can spend in a particular contract. They have their own tender board. They have their own approval committee called MESCOM. If the approval is above $2 billion, it means the subsidiary cannot handle it. They will take you to what we call DESCOM, either by the GED or the vice president, between $5 billion and $10 million. If it's more than between $2 billion and $5 billion, DESCOM will sit on it. If it is above $5 billion, to $10 million, an NPC management committee will sit on it. If it is more than $10 million, the NPC board will sit on it. But these rules are no longer applying. You twist the subsidiaries, and even $1,000 must come to one man, and that is a GMD to approve. How can things work?
Okay, all right, Chief.
Don't allow professionals to work.
Yeah, Chief. Let's look at another thing now. That's the host community development. We've been talking a lot about that and how to compensate areas where we get most of these oil out of. And we see recently the Ford Foundation they came up with this host community development trust. Do you think this is a game changer that will get host communities what they deserve?
That is even a wrong move. Let me tell you, when the PIA came, before the PIA, the Niger Delta insisted in getting 10% equity of all the oil companies so that we can have a say in how you operate in our place. We can have a say in the board, how you maintain our environment. These things were thrown away by Melekari and his team, and they said they are giving us 3% operational cost. 3% operational cost. We quarreled, argued, and some of us said, look, let's sign this first as a means of getting something. Then we'll come back. You put obnoxious laws, clauses in the PIA. And the worst of it, you are giving 30% to the frontier. Who are the frontier? New oil discovery. Let's come to the tradition of oil exploration. Right from 1912, when Nigeria went into exploration of oil, the company exploring will spend their own money, explore and get oil. When they get the oil, the federal government will share the cost of production with them. If they don't see oil, it's a total loss. Instead of now giving this 30% to where you have oil, you are taking this into Maiduguri. We just borrowed money, 53 billion naira for oil exploration in Maiduguri. What about the one in Gombe and other areas? You dish out billions of contracts to faceless companies, and they said they're exploring oil. You deceive us. You've seen oil for large quantity. Where is the oil? How many years? We have not been able to supply even Kaduna refinery. Not to talk of the Nigerian refineries. So this administration of NNPC, led by Melekari, is a deceit, and they are not focused as to how they can improve production. If you want to improve production, we have a lot of reserve in the Niger Delta. That is 7 billion barrel reserve.
Okay.
Why not think of how you can increase this production to 4 million barrel per day? Even at 4 million barrel, in the next 100 years, we cannot finish our reserve. The same thing is applicable to gas. In the next 100 years, we cannot finish our gas. So why not think of where you will get more production? You concentrate more and have a small fraction to where you are trying to find out.
All right, Chief.
You explore. All right. You have not been able to discover.
All right, Chief. Definitely, these are your views, and most of what you've talked about. About the Mr. Melekari. Definitely, these are all allegations, and we don't really have concrete proof about all of this. But I want to thank you so much for coming on and talk to us about these host community issues and how to get our oil production up so we can get more dollars into the country. But thank you so much for coming on today. And definitely this is an ongoing conversation. Thank you so much, sir.
Before I conclude, let me tell you, if Nigeria wants to come out from this quagmire, you must appoint a Niger Delta person to be able to coordinate the oil activities in Nigeria and restore peace.
All right, Chief, no problem.
Stop this play.
All right, thank you.
Melekari will retire by 6th of January. It will be 60 years. If you don't retire him 60 years and allow him, Nigeria will sink.
All right, Chief. Thank you for your views there, Chief. Definitely, will take most of this into consideration. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you. All right, there you have it. A lot to unpack there, but we'll take a break now. We're gonna head straight to the market right after this. Stay with us. All right, let's get a check on trading for the local boss right here in Nigeria and most of the global markets that we track. We have Anete edit with the details. Great to have you, Anete. So it's a rainy afternoon right here, but trade is still on.
Yes, of course, Ladi, trade is still on, and of course, that's the third trading day in October. October just started for trading on Wednesday. And of course, we've had another holiday shortened week.
And it's looking like October is looking quite tough for risk assets, at this point. And we're seeing what's playing out, with oil. Oil seems to be the one shining, with all of this geopolitics we have in the Middle East.
Well, of course, and that geopolitical tension is riveting around the world. So it's not just Nigeria's stock market that is in the red. We see markets, mostly, particularly the ones in the Middle East. But some markets across Africa are making some gains, and I'll be giving you more details about that right at this moment. Okay, so now let's get it started. Intraday market numbers for Nigeria's stock market, where we start first. Intraday 0.14% is where the market, this is where the market left before I came into the studio. But overnight, which was yesterday, the market was down 1.13% and losing about 671.16 billion naira. And of course, it has dropped below that 97,000 points. But at intraday, it was struggling for some gains at 97,200.00, which you can see on your screen there. So Nigeria's stock market is still trying to make that gain. We saw about 23 gainers and 28 losers. The gainers was led by Seplat, as well as some other mid-cap companies, while the losers was led by almighty Dangote Cement, which is the #1 most capitalized equity on the stock market. Of course, both of them, both the top gainers and the losers, they were up by 10% and also down by 10%. So yesterday, the market has lost about, retreated to about 29.81%. Month to date, we saw an earlier decline of the market, 0.33%, but yesterday, like I mentioned, was down by more than 1%. So now that's just a snapshot for the market. Now for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, we see the intraday numbers in the green, 0.06% at 86,510.00. For the other two markets on the African continent, we see the EGX 30, 1.24% for the close of Thursday's trading session, while the NSE All-Share Index on the Nairobi Stock Exchange was also up 0.43%. So it's all the greens for the African major indexes that we track, both for intraday and the close of Thursday's trading session. So that's it for the market. Now, we'll be talking more about the market, and this time we have three things to talk about. First, we see the collaboration between the Nigerian Exchange Limited as well as the Johannesburg Stock Exchange with Nigeria's capital market regulator, that's the SEC, and they will be talking more. That was on Wednesday, so they had a get-together kind of where they're collaborating on governance, market development, sustainability. And to talk more about this and other issues within the market, we have investment research analyst at AfriInvest, Nathaniel Daniel, joining me, Nathaniel Disso joining me in the studio right now. And this time, I think he's coming physically. Thank you for joining us, Nathaniel.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Nancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so now it's quite interesting. Two of Africa's biggest markets, stock markets, that is Nigeria and Johannesburg, making a collaboration. So what is your expectation for this on the market? How will it affect African markets?
Okay, I think this new collaboration is actually timely. And based on the reports that we got concerning the agreements, it was more on corporate governance and how they can achieve market effectiveness. And something that is really important is that both JSE and the NGX, they have a sort of demutualized exchange, which means that the market is now owned by shareholders and it can be done for profit. And one of the interesting things is that JSE achieved this feat in 2005, that's about 19 years ago, but the NGX is relatively new in that space, 2021, and so that collaboration is more of the NGX learning from the GSA on how best they can achieve this. And one of the things that we see that we think would be important is the AfCFTA agreements. That is the Africa Free Trade Agreement. So that would help a kind of collaboration between both markets. And one of the things that they also discussed about is the possibility of having dual listings, which is something we don't really see often between the NGX and the GSC. As a matter of fact, it's only Oando that is the Nigerian company that is listed on both the NGX and the GSC. So having that collaboration would be timely to see more possible dual listings in the future.
Interesting. Okay, so now let's talk about the fourth quarter. We're in the fourth quarter, beginning October down to December. And more expectations we saw. I don't know how that number came out for the third quarter, but what are your expectations for the fourth quarter of the year?
So for the fourth quarter, one of the things that we'll be looking at, or that we'll be paying attention more, is on the banking sector and the oil and gas sector. Because if we look at the data on for I think last month, September, we could see that oil and gas and banking stocks were one of the top performing sector. Oil and gas had about 7% gain. That's the index generally, and the banking index had about 10% gain. So those are the sectors that we think would actually be of interesting to watch in the last quarter. And also the earnings releases for Q3 would also be something that to look out for. And finally, for the MPC meeting that just happened, CBN raised rates again to about 27.25%. So that might have a trickish look for investors, because we all know that when the interest rates is hiked, that the equity market would be out of favor.
Okay, so now today is Friday, the last that we've seen two downs. Earlier on Monday we saw a gain.
Yeah.
So what is your outlook for the markets close for Friday?
So for the outlook for the markets close today, it's just going to be more of the same, because we're just entering into October. Monday was a public holiday due to Independence. So we would say that investors are actually like trying to find their feet to see how October would look out on the back of the MPC meeting and also earnings releases that would be expecting in a couple of days or weeks.
Yeah. I'm sure where all the investors, their eyes out for the third quarter earnings result. I'm sure will be coming out maybe as from next week or in 2 weeks' time. But of course, all the markets will be looking out for that. So thank you so much for your time, and thank you for coming in person on the show.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me on the Yeah, thank you.
That's Nathaniel Disso, investment research analyst at AfriInvest, giving us numbers and, of course, giving us details of what to expect for the fourth quarter, as well as the NGX JSC collaboration, which you just mentioned. Okay, so now let me go back to my regular spot and tell you what the Middle East market is looking like. Middle East, not too good here. We see all the reds there for the Dubai, both of the markets on the United Arab Emirates. The Dubai by a flattish red. 0.00 in the red, 49,398.16, and the Abu Dhabi 0.25%, and this is no thanks to which has been in the news ever since the start of the week, the Iran-Israel tension, and which we have, according to what we tracked just a couple of minutes ago, that satellite imagery has revealed that a number of tankers are vacating the waters around Iran's key Kurg Island loading terminal amid fears of Israeli counterattack, which on Tehran's energy infrastructure. Let's not forget that Iran had launched a barrage of missiles, about 180 missiles, on Israel, which was also countered, but now the whole world is awaiting what will Israel's response or retaliation be. What form are they going to come? And that is, of course, going to have some impact on the market. It has already had impact on the oil market. Oil prices have been on the increase. But so far, this is how it is printed for the markets that we track on the Middle East. And now for the other side of the markets on the Middle East, we have the Saudi Arabia's Tadawul down 0.72% for the close of Thursday's trading session. And the Qatari Stock Exchange also down almost 1%, 0.96%, 10,465.25 for that market. So for the Middle East, it's all the reds, no respite for the close of trading session. Middle East markets, they'll be trading as from Sunday. So we'll see how that market opens a new week. And from the Middle East, we go over to the world's biggest economy, the U.S. stock market, where we see the stock futures, they're rising slightly. And that's because all the traders there are awaiting the September jobs report, which is expected to, about 150,000 jobs was created last month, which is the month of September, and which is expected to be higher than the 142,000 jobs created in the month of August. At the same time, the analysts or economists are also expecting that the unemployment rate was steady at about 4.2%. But so far, the S&P 500, 0.23% in the red at 5,762.50, while the NASDAQ tech heavies was up 0.22%. All the three majors are on pace to snap a 3-win streak for the close of this week. But for more details of how the market closed for Thursday's trading session, let's bring in Washington correspondent Maria Bird.
The U.S. stock market takes a sharp decline on Thursday ahead of the U.S. jobs report, which is set to be released at the end of the week. Many are also watching to see the escalation in oil prices, up by 5% as a result of the tension in the Middle East. It is clear that investors are watching to see what will happen next and watching the impact on the U.S. stock market as the Dow Jones led the way down at 0.44%, the S&P 500 down at 0.17%, and the heavy tech NASDAQ down just below flatline at 0.04%. This has many concerned as they are watching to see how the Middle East tension could impact U.S. oil prices, which could mean a devastating impact on the U.S. economy. But this also could mean that we see sharper declines than once expected in the U.S. stock market.
Our Washington correspondent Maria Bird with the numbers on Wall Street for the close of Thursday's trading session. So that's it for a wrap on the U.S. market. But I'm not going to give you more details about this. But Asian markets have closed Friday's trading session mostly in the green, and China's stock market will be resuming. That's a couple of days from now. That will be on Monday. So, Ladi, that's a wrap for the markets for around the world.
Yeah, definitely for this last trading day of this week. But thank you so much. We'll get a check on what's going to play out for next week and get that out for our audience. Thank you so much, Anita, for giving us those details. But let's take it on to Berlin now. We see they're often admired and sometimes despised as the world's richest people. They're also definitely constantly watched and ranked. Just now, the list of Germany's richest people. That's out. Lars Holter as with DW and gives us the details now. So Lars, who's on the list and what does it tell us about money in Germany?
Thanks for having me, Ladi. Well, it's really interesting. If I just read to you the names on the list, let's say just the top 10, there won't be many you would even know. And that's because wealth, and especially extreme wealth, is not usually flaunted in Germany. It's in great contrast to some other countries, let's say the United States, where Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, but also Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are household names. They're constantly in the spotlight. In Germany, most of the wealthiest people try their best to avoid the spotlight. Let's just take number 1 on that list, a gentleman by the name of Dieter Schwarz. He is the founder and still boss of retail giant Lidl, that is one of Germany's huge discounters. His wealth stands at just over 43 billion euros, and there is no photo available of him more recent than a few decades ago. Further down the list, by the way, are the Albrecht families, owners of the other big German discounter Aldi, and they're also never seen in public or photographed. Of course, some of the names on the list are quite recognizable. There's the Porsche family, the Siemens family, there's Stihl and Thyssen. So obviously some who are tied to companies bearing the family name.
All right, so where's the money coming from that makes Germany's financial elite so rich?
Actually, Lottie, it's inherited money for a large part. As I went down the list, I did notice that among the very top 10, there's really only Mr. Schwarz, who I just mentioned, who has actually founded the company that made him so wealthy. A bit further down the list, ranked 11, 12, and 13, are 3 gentlemen, Andreas von Bechtolsheim, Hasso Plattner, and Dietmar Hopp. They are the founders of software giant SAP. But most others, in fact, have inherited their wealth. There's the 2 children, actually grandchildren even, of an early BMW majority shareholder. There is the Merck family, whose ancestors founded the pharmaceutical company. There's many whose names don't ring a bell, but they're all tied to companies that have often been around for more than a century. But there's also some real entrepreneurs like Ugur Sahin and Özlem Türeci. They are the scientists and founders of BioNTech, and that is, of course, the company that developed the first COVID vaccine. That, of course, made them massively rich, as the whole world needed their product a few years ago. Currently, they're researching cancer vaccines, by the way, and if they're successful there, they will certainly climb a lot higher on the list of richest Germans.
So why do we hear about these people? Why are they mostly hardly known?
Yeah, I guess it's partially a cultural thing. In Germany, wealth is not often discussed, even when people use their acquired wealth to support others, when they run philanthropic efforts. Even then, many stay out of the limelight. Many foundations, for example, are financing museums or hospitals or other institutions while keeping their names and faces out of the story. It's probably too because everyone on that list is most certainly aware of the social injustice in the world and the drastic inequality we're experiencing, the widening gap between the rich and the poor, or even the middle class. Inequality in our times has become such a problem that I guess it's understandable if one doesn't want to expose themselves as one of the biggest beneficiaries. Also, there are, of course, matters of security. We've had kidnappings of billionaires and their family members, especially in the 1970s and 80s, and many have really then started to stay out of the public eye just to protect themselves a bit more.
All right. Thank you, Lars.
Thank you, Ladi.
Yeah, so much to unpack there with the rich list in Germany. But now let's get a check on what's happening in Egypt. See, the government of Egypt and the German federal state of Bavaria have signed a declaration of intent to strengthen their bilateral cooperation. And hydrogen document was signed by Egypt's electricity and renewable energy minister, and we see Bavaria's Minister of State also part of that signing. The joint declaration includes cooperation and exchanges on hydrogen trade, including identifying production capacities, expansion phases in hydrogen logistics, advancements in hydrogen technologies, and market development. All right, let's get a check on what's happening in the crypto market now. We see it's mostly green on the screen, so we're seeing some kind of recovery happening there with geopolitics weighing on the market. Bitcoin actually getting as low as $60,000, but we're seeing some kind of recovery for the market. Will it be sustained? That is the question at this point. But we also see Ethereum trying to get above that 1.05% jump. Let's look at the sentiment in the market. It was tending already towards greed, but now it's looking like fear is setting in for the market. So traders use the fear greed index to either enter or exit a market with fear telling you maybe you might want to enter with, and greed showing you the door out of the market so you don't lose your profit. But definitely October is starting off on the back foot for Bitcoin and the crypto market. But let's bring in Rumi Ofi now, financial market analyst. Hello, Rumi.
Hello, Larry. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Rumi. Great to have you. So we're seeing some kind of recovery now, but we know geopolitics is still playing into Bitcoin price action.
Yes, geopolitics is playing a very huge role because the world today is heavily correlated, I beg your pardon, and one thing happening in the other part and affecting every other thing in the other part. So maybe this is the true essence of the global village that we usually talk about. Right about now, I think that the price of oil is going really heavy, and most of the time when price of oil is going up, it affects the price of digital assets.
All right, let's look at compliance now and the regulatory landscape in Nigeria. Would you say, you're seeing some kind of improvement, when it comes to, acceptance of cryptocurrency, in a country like Nigeria, when it comes to regulation? We've got some crypto exchanges actually get licenses right now. So how are you seeing now the regulatory landscape in Nigeria for crypto?
Yes, fantastic stuff there, giving licenses to cryptocurrency exchange platforms like Bucha and Quidas. We understand, but the truth is that there's still some form of regulation that is going on, which is most likely tethered to the aspect of regulation by enforcement. We've seen the law enforcement agencies go after individuals. We've seen them go after a couple of other persons and all. And I think this is more like a blanket chase. But I would have suggested that maybe a committee of the House of Rep or the National Assembly should come up and tell us exactly what the laws are for digital asset. We understand that we've recognized digital asset as part of something like a commodity or thereabout in our industry and in the country. But again, the fact that it's not clear on rules that people need to follow, failure to do so, they are being dealt with. It's more like a blanket thing. It's exactly what Gary Gensler is doing in the US. Regulation by enforcement is not good for the ecosystem. People that want to come here and do business, because of the fact that the regulation is not clear, it gives a very red flag for them. So we need to make these regulations really clear on guidelines to follow if you're coming to play in the Nigerian space. This is very, very important. And the more we delay it, the more we lose opportunities to countries like Ghana, South Africa, and others here, and that is not good. So I'm urging the authorities, particularly the central bank and some other anti-graft agencies, to comply or come up with something that people can live up to and make sure we have a healthy ecosystem. It is not good that today this is regarded as security or you doing some other things. This is not good. Let's have a defined system so that players in this industry can know, or those coming to do business in this country can know. Well, I'm very sure for that of the SEC has come out with their laws and everything is going fairly well. If you ask me, there are room for improvement. Industry stakeholders can be engaged for other things to come up. I look forward to a better Nigeria, considering the fact that there are a huge number of persons that are not employed here. This industry can absorb them. But when regulations are coming after people that are already players, at some point, it brings the bad taste to the industry.
All right, definitely. We'll keep tracking to see how it all plays out into 2025. We're going to see more crypto companies actually, come to Nigeria. But how are you seeing that, playing into the future?
I'm very hopeful for 2025. I'm very hopeful. Peradventure, maybe the president has to take some steps, because the truth is that when people are complaining and a particular industry is trying to absorb some of these people to be careful and because he promised that it's going to improve on what we already have in blockchain and cryptocurrency. And this should be metamorphosed. We're hoping, we believe in him, we want to see things go in sync. We don't want a situation whereby EFCC is saying something, NSA is saying something else, and all of CBN is saying something else. Don't want everything to work that way. We need to see that the SEC is the one in charge doing stuff. Yeah.
All right. Definitely. We hope that regulatory clarity comes even more going forward. Thank you so much, Rumi Ofi, financial market analyst.
Thank you very much, Ladi. Always a pleasure.
All right, that's the TGIF show today. You can watch this again on our YouTube channel. Just flip over to YouTube and search for Channels Television. You can also join the conversation on X. Just search again for Channels Television. I'm Ladi Williams. Enjoy the weekend. And remember, if you must sell, find the top.